Hey, welcome to Cloud and Stack. This episode, I'm going to talk about the news for Microsoft 365 Defender for the month of November 2023. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's get started with the source of everything. This is coming from Microsoft 365 Defender Monthly News, November edition. This is published by Heike Reiter. She's one of the Microsoft program managers for Microsoft 365 Defender, and it contains a range of blog posts and updates relating to releases and new features to the platform that have been released over the last month or so. Now, what's really interesting for today's conversation is that I'm only highlighting some aspects of and some blog posts from this initial report here, because there's too much and too many announcements. So therefore, I highly recommend you to just access the source for any details that you will need. For this particular episode, though, I will talk about, for example, what's coming to 365 Defender. So Microsoft is about to release Security Copilot to public sometime in the future. That's still not disclosed when, and that's fine. But for the time being, we have the preview of Security Copilot working within M365 Defender. What I want to highlight from the blog post here is how it will work, experience, and the screenshots that you should definitely have a look at and see what it looks like from the analyst and security engineer perspective. So Security Copilot will essentially be an addition to the portal. It'll be on the right hand side there for the analyst to access. This is the current preview version of it, right? So if you're watching this for whatever reason in the future, things might have changed, but preview version, November 2023, this is what it was looking like. Security Copilot right hand side, and it provides incident details and of course specific capabilities for the analyst to enhance its investigation capabilities, such as the ability for it to, of course, enhance the KQL capabilities of your engineer, whilst, of course, respecting your organization's policies to the use of generative AI for sensitive information, right? So that's very important and critical there. It'll also be able to analyze scripts that are found by our EDR tools. So if there is a script that is found by our EDR, we can see the whole script, and then we can send that script to Security Copilot for an analysis, and so that it breaks it down for us and further explain to us as analysts what's actually going on with that script. Next up, it's the ability for it to understand what's actually going on throughout an incident, and to potentially trigger actions right from it. So you can see on screen here, if you're watching this, but there is an inbuilt button that is passed on by the platform, by the Security Copilot, based on whatever is being shown on the investigation page there, on the incident page. And something else that it can do is create an incident report right from that page as well. From the investigation page, it can generate an incident report for your engineer, your analyst, to use that and take that further up the chain if there is a need to explain what actually happened in that particular incident. The document and the blog post will go back to explain a little further how Security Copilot will work. There will be feedback taken into the platform, which is always greatly appreciated with generative AI tools, since they are, of course, still developing, and of course there's a lot that still needs to be tweaked and enhanced into the response. So that's all good and all expected in generative AI capabilities, and the feedback is embedded into the platform there, so that you can tell the platform if you had a great summary, or if you expected something else, something different, and so on and so forth. So just great experience there coming up soon for 365 Defender. Next up, there's a blog post about how advanced queries can now use secure authenticate OAuth apps, and identifying if there is any applications that are potentially misusing or trying to spoof your organization with a legitimate logo. So the blog post will go in details into what this looks like, and of course it'll tell you why use advanced hunting for it. But by utilizing advanced hunting, you can create a specific targeted look query into the environment that looks at specific events, including specific applications that are potentially trying to impersonate, for example, a logo by a large provider within your environment that would likely be something that your users would fall prey to. Right? So just really helpful there. And the blog post itself also contains examples of what that query could look like, with the inclusion of the application ID there, where you can put the application ID within the query, and it'll just project to you results that match that particular query, and then therefore telling your analysts what applications and malicious or suspicious activities or applications that are potentially malicious should be looked at. So this here relies on the cloud Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps capabilities there, alongside with 365 Defender Advanced Hunting query capabilities. I will go back, scroll down here all the way to Defender for Endpoint now. That's the next section. There are a couple important announcemements here. I will start off by talking about it, automatic disruption. Now, of course, which has been available for some time there, but now with this blog post here, you can have a look at how automatic disruption helps the environment protect your organization against human-operated attacks, such as ransomware attacks by large threat actors, for example, right? And by the use of containing compromised user accounts. And when we talk about automatic disruption, we're talking about the platform taking proactive actions and actions automatically in automated fashion to curb and to hinder the actions of threat actors in your environment. So essentially protecting your environment at machine speed. Really interesting and really important there in order to scale to a large environment where an attack can be going on, and the attacker could be moving laterally at one point, and thus being able to, of course, take actions on a compromised user in order to curb that attack is really important. Now, the blog post here has some very helpful descriptions and diagrams showing details of what that looks like and why you should be worried about, and of course, leveraging its capability. I highly recommend you do so. Next up, about Defender for Endpoint as well, is the announcement of a streamlined device connectivity experience for Defender for Endpoint. Essentially, this capability here looks at providing a way to simplify the deployment of Defender for Endpoint, particularly looking at the URLs you need to whitelist in order for Defender for Endpoint agent or sensor to talk to our servers on the cloud, right? So essentially, that's a better way and simpler way, so that you don't need to create a whitelist with a very large number and granular list of URLs in your environment, right? Which could be somewhat troublesome and somewhat could take time, a lot more time than it should. Now, with this streamlined way to deploy this capability, there is some information here stating that there's a reduction of URLs set by more than 60% with this means, and so imagine the gains in terms of just rolling out those whitelists for your environment. There's a very big gains there in terms of that particularity. And there are a few more capabilities here and benefits of using the streamlined capability. I highly recommend to have a look if you are looking to deploy Defender for Endpoint in your environment. Now I'm going to go through the next Defender section, which is Defender for Identity. There is a blog post about how to a blog post about a simplified deployment model and script for Defender for Identity. It is a very helpful post. I had a skim through it, and I intend to have a further and detailed look into it later, because I'm working on some stuff around Defender for Identity, and this is particularly helpful because it covers the prerequisites of what's needed for Defender for Identity, and then covers on the deployment, how you deploy sensors in your environment, how you install it either manually or using silent install scripts in your environment. It shows you how to check the health of sensors, and of course how to take a look at directory service accounts there. Lastly, it covers permissions needed, and it even covers on post-deployment things that you should watch out in order to optimize your environment for detections and security there. So very helpful blog post to help you just look at simplifying the deployment of Defender for Identity in your environment. Next up, Defender for Cloud Apps. There is now the automatic redirection from Defender for Cloud Apps straight to Microsoft 365 Defender. So again, utilizing 365 Defender as one single portal there for your entire XDR security measures there. The announcement here also states that administrators can still opt in to not automatically redirect their users. So if you are still needing to utilize the traditional portal for Defender for Cloud Apps, you absolutely can. Have a look at the document there for more information. Next up, Defender for Office 365. This is news around authenticating outbound email to improve deliverability. So the blog post explains how to work out and deploy a method to reduce the likelihood of your domain being flagged as a spoof domain, therefore causing some potential mismatches in terms of maybe DMARC. Maybe people are implementing DMARC and thus your domain could fall into a reject rule, causing your emails and domain to not have emails delivered to particular recipients. So that is particularly important for availability and deliverability, in fact. So have a look there for insurance of proper deployment for Defender for Office 365 there. And next up, there will be a range of blogs around Microsoft security that are really helpful, and there is a very long list here of threat analytics reports. So these are all available to all Microsoft 365 customers, and of course you need to authenticate by the portal here. I highly recommend you do so, particularly if you are dealing with incidents in your environment, because these threat analytics reports, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, they are relative and they can provide context visualizations in your environment, and you can easily pinpoint if there are incidents that are somewhat related and somehow related to these potential threat actors. There are also some vulnerability profiles here that are covered in some of these threat analytics reports, and I highly recommend you have a look at that as a security analyst and security engineer. That is mostly it. I appreciate your time, and I hope you found this update useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel where you're consuming this content from. If you prefer podcasts, do so. If you are watching this on YouTube, please do so. Otherwise, I appreciate your time and have a good one.